Hello and welcome to the Metpack Pod, the industry's leading podcast for the global metal packaging industry. The Metpack Pod is brought to you by the Metal Packager, the number one digital resource for the global metal packaging market. I'm your host Alex Fordham, and today we welcome Robert Nagtzaam from Intralox. Before leading Intralox's newly formed global consumer packaged goods team, Robert headed the Intralox Global Canmaking team for the past 6 years. Robert holds double bachelor's and double master's degree in both international business and law and finance. He completed his studies at Tilburg University in the Netherlands. In today's episode, Robert delves into Intralox's new CPG team and what the industry can look forward to from Intralox in the coming months. But before we begin the episode, we must give special mention to our sponsors PPG. We're proud to partner with you and thank you for supporting the Metpack Pod this past year. Their range of innovative and sustainable solutions enables its customers to protect and beautify the world. Now on to today's show. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Alex. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm very much looking forward to listening to your thoughts on the latest developments at Intralox, and no doubt we'll be seeing each other in a couple of weeks' time at Metpack. So I know the industry is certainly looking forward to getting back together all together after, 6 years now. So that should be good fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's been too long. It's just good to be able to see everybody get together again.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on industry changes and also the structural developments that we're seeing at Intralox. So perhaps that's the ideal place to start. So without further ado, if you could provide an overview of the changes that we've seen recently.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I think indeed this discussion comes in a good time. We've been very busy within Intralox in the industrial business unit where the can-making team was positioned or is positioned. In October, we decided to merge both the global can-making team together with the packaging team. That is now led into a newly formed team, which is a consumer packaged goods team. We call it CPG, with now 105 people in it, working on a global scale. The merge has led to the ability to actually synergize and to benefit of synergies more in terms of connecting to, let's say, our direct business model and global presence. Now we have just a wider pool of resources to look after the demands and the needs from our customer base. We also believe that bringing innovations, let's say, is now, easier to streamline and to actually have different segments as they've been approached now benefit from the same type of technologies and knowledge. A good example of that is, let's say, the can makers and the fillers, right? Where, let's say, at the back end of a can making line, it's actually the start of the filling line operation. But those two industries and segments have not been communicating, at least from within Intralox, and it makes actually a lot of sense because it still comes down to empty can handling, where we believe we have a lot of good experience and insights and solutions to offer. So that's been quite a big, let's say, move within the organization. The CPG team in the industrial business unit is the single biggest team now with 105 people. And it's really exciting to get going on this because we really believe that this is bringing us to a next level of what we can bring to our customer base.
And I know with these changes that they're not always plain sailing. So perhaps an objective overview. I mean, how have there been any teething problems so far, or has it all been relatively smooth sailing?
Well, surprisingly, it is, let's say, a process that has gone relatively smooth. So we haven't had a lot of hiccups. I think the big challenge was how do you bring those teams together also in terms of size and connectedness, because the can-making team was a truly global team of 35 people in an industry that is very, let's say, condensed and very well known, and you encounter a lot of the same people, so you get really well vested in what is the space. And if you then look into the packaging space, it's more widespread, a lot of more locations and companies of different size, making it a bit harder to have that close-knit family feel. And that's been, let's say, and that is the main challenge, to actually bring that together. So how do you make a team that by nature is more spread out and less, let's say, centralized, as the can-making industry, still feel that it's a small team, everybody is doing it together and feels a part of that let's say, CPG family, in the larger Intralox family. I think that is, let's say, the main challenge. But I must say, whenever you start looking into resources that are now 1 foot in can making, 1 foot in the, for instance, the beverage space, you actually see that process happening already. So seems we're good to go.
And I suppose that's internally, but crucially, it's what your customers think. So what's the feedback been so far?
So far, so good. I must say, we've been able to, across segments, to keep up the delivery reliability that we have and that we're known for. So Intralox has been able, also withstanding the global supply chain issues, to keep that 99.9% on-time delivery rate across customers, across regions, on, let's say, customized belts that have been made to order. So I think that is showing that we continue to do well. And yeah, like I said, I think the ability to now engage in in-depth discussion with a wider customer base, coming from a starting point, allowing for more in-depth explorations, getting to that level for understanding of, okay, so what is the true customer need and how can we actually contribute to it? So what are the business issues? How can we help solve it? The position that we have today in that is way stronger than before this merge. And I think that is leading to good results and feedback so far.
We interrupt this episode for a brief segment from our sponsors, PPG.
Packaging coatings from PPG draw on our company's 140-year history of innovation. We never stop improving our solutions to meet the evolving needs of can makers and the marketplace. That spirit of innovation results in technology like the cradle-to-cradle platinum-rated PPG Innovel Pro. PPG Innovel Pro is the latest enhancement to the world's #1 non-BPA beverage can coating. It still doesn't use any bisphenol ingredients, but experienced can makers report that it now sprays like an epoxy. Follow PPG Packaging Coatings on LinkedIn or visit packagingcoatings.com to learn more about why PPG is the coatings partner for can making excellence.
Before we get on to, I'll be interested in your take on sort of the relative health of the industry, etc. I know certainly the beverage can sector has seen in the last sort of 3 to 5 years significant growth for reasons we're obviously all familiar with now. I mean, to cut a long story short, really, I mean, is the merger and this new sort of packaged goods teams, is this because of the growth we've seen that you've outgrown the existing business model that you've had, or is it due to other external factors within the Intralox group?
No, I wouldn't say it's a result of the growth of the industry, but I do see that, let's say, as the industry is now changing, also with the CapEx spend, let's say, returning back to more normal levels again, what you see is that the need for coverage at plant level is increasingly important. So whenever the projects are done and are being installed, it's running the operations where the key value is also for us to tap into. So in can making, we have a 95%, over 95% installed base and market share. And that means that to look after all of that can handling and conveying, we have now started to look into how can we service that better? How can we cater to a need of, a retirement wave? How do you make sure you keep bringing that knowledge on whatever is can handling to the customers in the plants to make sure that everybody is well taken care of? And for that, you need additional resources. And I do believe that with the merge, opening up that wider resource pool is helping in the service offerings that we're now developing as a result of the project spend, let's say, decreasing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there about the retirement wave, so to speak. And I think something that the industry is very mindful of with the COVID years has probably accelerated that, with a lot of can making professionals thinking now's the time to bow out of the industry and potentially taking that knowledge with them. So I assume that is something that Intralox are using as an important tool to future-proof the business, because it's taking that knowledge with you. It's just human nature that happens. So I think being able to have that succession plan is definitely important.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex, and I think it's interesting if you conceptually think about it. So the DNA of the Intralox organization has always been that, let's say, that mindset of inventors. That's also how the company came about. So in 1947, J.M. Lepere, who founded the Intralox organization in 1971, actually came up with the idea when sitting in church and playing with his rubber booth on how you could use that rubber to actually peel shrimp with an automated way instead of doing that manually, as was done in New Orleans, let's say, where a lot of the seafood business was. So he came up with that idea of, can we automate that shrimp peeling process? He did, with a patented machine that we're still selling. From that, the immediate next problem occurred, because how do you transport that peeled product that is very sensitive, on the abrasive stainless steel belts that they were using and the mesh belts, and there wasn't a solution. So that's how he came up with the idea of a plastic modular belt. That inventor's mindset is the backbone of what we do, and is actually tying into, if you make that translation now into the can making space. So we've been building our presence in can making over the last 25 years. With that industry specialization, with the global team that we dedicated to that industry. And we see the movement in the industry. So we've been growing with the industry. Now you face that outflow of inherent knowledge and mechanical capabilities and hands. And how do you counter that? So how do you contribute to it? Because we believe that's a business issue. We want to contribute to it. So a service offering and expanding on that, that's one thing. But if you look into what we're bringing and have developed, also to take out the need for labor on setting up the mass handling part of the back end of a line. That's, for instance, the new 560 product that we'll be launching at Metpack, which is basically a small pitch tight transfer belt, eliminating the need for dead plates. So with that, you have all of the benefits of reduction of spoilage of 70% of 12-ounce sleek cans that we've tested in field setup. But more importantly, you reduce the risk of stranded cans, mixed labels, and that's, I think, one of the biggest key points here. You don't need the mechanical hands and knowledge in setting up those dead plates whenever you make a change to it, which was very time-consuming process and required in-depth mechanical knowledge and experience. So it's a way of facilitating, if something changes, how do you make it more easy for the can makers to still be able to run their lines in a better way by having thought about a solution.
Absolutely, and this seems very pertinent as well with Metpack on the horizon, and a point you made earlier about we have seen growth within the industry, but things are perhaps not necessarily slowing. But I think the industry is just taking a pause for breath for a time period. So those efficiency savings are becoming ever more important for can makers. And I know in the material that you guys have got before the show, you do talk about this being a game-changing product for the industry. So it certainly sounds like you've got a lot to talk about at the show.
Definitely, yes, and we're really looking forward to actually make a splash with this. We think it's going to be a big thing. So far, all of the results. So we've done extensive the field tests with the global can makers. Everybody that has seen it in action is immediately a believer and wants to have it. And so that's very, it's been all around that level of feedback. So we can't wait to get going with this. We believe it's really bringing additional value to the industry and our customers, and allowing for also, in a time where new projects, let's say, are less, to optimize the output of existing lines. And I think that's where we really, can't wait to start putting this into action.
Absolutely. So yeah, you mentioned the this new product launch, the S560 tight transfer belt. Is there anything else that we can look forward to at the show at Metpack that you're perhaps showcasing?
Yeah, I think so. The industry service specialist initiative that we've launched in North America, that's one thing that we're really looking into, how we can roll that out across regions, and let's say finding out more on the need. So really looking forward to more in-depth discussions with can makers on that during the show. And then obviously the proven out solutions that we've been bringing over the last couple of years are definitely up for showcasing and discussion as well. So the Series 9000 washer belt that has become the standard in let's say the can washers, with more than 200 installations at this very moment across the globe. I think that's a big one. We have the Series 900 multi-width HHR nylon single filer belt. We've made that belt specifically in that material because of the wear that the regular belts were having on the high-speed single filing, and then especially optimize it for these the high-speed camera inspection coming off of the pin stripper, for instance. in terms of the material finish, in the surface finish, but also in terms of the color optimization to enhance, let's say, the contrast for the cameras to be better performing and less having a lesser drop off of performance over time. So those are ideas and solutions that we currently have, and I'm more than happy to explore in depth during the show.
No, it sounds like you've got plenty to talk about. So I'd imagine it's going to be a busy few days for you and the team. Just before we get on to, just want to finish on learning a little bit more about Intralox and the sort of unique selling points of the company. I just wanted to get your take on the industry as it stands, because I think that's going to be a very important topic about industries that have seen growth. And then sometimes an industry, this is just my view, that sometimes when in industries at its strongest, it's also at its weakness because there's no planning for future, and it's just all about making sure that orders are fulfilled and just keeping your head above water with the how busy you are. So just before the show, I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, I'm just quite curious to see where you see the industry, and because you speak to can makers on a daily basis. So is there not worry, but is there concern within the industry, or are can makers still relatively bullish about the future of the can making industry? This is just taking stock of where we are as an industry, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And honestly, I think what we've seen over the last couple of years is just at a level of above organic growth that we have seen for the last 20 years spent. But that means even if that normalizes, you still have that organic growth that has been proven to be very healthy and robust and consistent through times, despite, let's say, recessions, despite world events. So that steady pace is still there. The peak that we have seen, that will most likely level out until, let's say, potential regions that are underdeveloped at this point come into play as well. And I think that's the big piece of the unknown here. So when are the regions that have the potential growing into an adoption of the use of cans? And that would drive, let's say, that next level boost and growth above organic growth again. So I think industry is in a good space. I think there's challenges to be solved, specifically, let's say, the retirement wave and finding, let's say, the capable mechanical hands in an era where, let's say, the workforce is getting into more digital type of jobs in comparison to mechanical jobs. And I think that's where, let's say, opportunity also lies. So I think it's still a very healthy business and a segment with continued growth and a bright future ahead.
And I suppose this is just the nature of the world, really, where companies and industries see a certain amount of success, and then that can't go on forever. Although certain people would like it to. So then, as a result, then you need to look at efficiencies to try and keep that margin going. So I think what we've spoken about today probably fits that bill quite nicely. So it's probably a nice time to bring in these new innovations in terms of efficiencies and spoilage reduction, etc. So no, it seems like a good timing for you guys, and that's just something I wanted to end on, really. So we've covered obviously exciting new product launches and a little bit about the history and heritage of Intralox. So if you can just perhaps finish on the unique selling points of the company and what we've perhaps not covered so far about why Intralox are one of the leaders in its field.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So maybe before going into benefits, let's give you a bit of a rundown on how it all started. I just mentioned, let's say, that idea and that inventor's mindset and how that led into the development of becoming the inventor of the plastic modular belt. So in 1971, that led into, let's say, the setting up and the founding of Intralox from New Orleans in the US as a company. Until today, we have grown into becoming, let's say, over $1 billion US dollar company that is still family owned in that specific plastic modular belting space. Let's say, I think after the plastic modular belt was invented, the second step underlying and explaining the success of Intralox has been the decision to engage in that direct business model on a global scale. So not relying on a network of distributors and resellers, but be close to where our customer base is and then serve them directly. And then on top of that, let's say the decision to go into industry specialization. So the teams that we have across the business units, and we have 3 business units. We have the food business unit. We call it the LMH, or logistics material handling, looking into the e-commerce business unit. And then we have the industrial business unit. In those business units, there's a lot of inherent industry specialization built up so that we can actually act and perform as consultants to the specific problems that our customers in an industry are facing. And that is bringing us, let's say, to big pieces of the benefit. So you have that specialization. So you always get knowledgeable advice on your specific process and the solutions that we have. We have global teams, we have global contracts allowing for, let's say, efficiencies and economies of scale to tap into. We have that global on-time delivery performance of 99.9%, and we just are reliably inventive. And I think if you translate that into where we are today, so we are in 100 plus countries with direct service. We have more than 2,000 industry-specific employees worldwide, serving a customer base of more than 60,000 customers worldwide, and still keeping up performance. And I think that is, in a nutshell, what makes Intralox.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like you, that the history and heritage that you have is certainly unique. So it's a real nice story to tell. And perhaps when we're talking about these new products and innovations, sometimes we can forget about where a company starts. So in a roundabout way, it seems like you're going back to your roots, but obviously trying to keep your foot on the accelerator as well. So it's exciting times for the company, and it's been a real pleasure learning a little bit more about the company in general and the benefits you've got for this wonderful industry. So no, I appreciate your time, Robert, and we look forward to perhaps sharing a couple of steins or two at Essen in a couple of weeks' time. So no, I appreciate it.
Definitely going to do that, Alex. I'm looking forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Robert. Take care.